Hello, my name is Cheryl Wilson. I'm an abstract painter and thank you for joining me. I wanted to talk to you today about how to determine what is working in your abstracts and what is not working. And this is really part two. I have a part one and it will be a link below. And it was a video that I got a lot of feedback on if I would do another video. And this is just my aspect, my rendition, what I look at in a painting. But it helps me tremendously when I'm working on my art and even when I'm done and something's not quite right and I can't figure it out. So this video will help explain to you what I look as an artist. I wanted to start right up front and show you the template that I use as an artist. You do not need to go and buy this. It's totally optional. You can just listen to my voice and you'll hear me read the prompts. But if you did want to, it's only $2 and that's just a very nominal amount to help me as an artist. But it's just a template that I'm using that I pull out every time I want to look at one of my paintings to help me decide what direction I want to go in. So I just wanted to share that with you. I did have a couple people ask me for the link and get the template, and so I wanted to at least put that out there for you. So I'm just going to show you real quick before the introduction. This is the painting that I'm going to review. It's a 20 by 20. It's called Jazz and Chopsticks. And without further ado, let's do the introduction and then dive right into what I look at to help me make my paintings better. All right, again, this is a 20 by 20 and it's acrylic paint, and I actually have a course on this particular painting, and so I'll put a link down below for 50% off coupon if you wanted to go out and take the course. Again, it's just, something I want to throw out there, and but a lot of people have taken the course, and the code will be 50 YouTube. But I look at 5 different areas. There can be many other ways you could describe the areas, but the first one is design, composition, and shape, number 1. 2 is value, which I think is actually the most important. 3 is color, 4 is line, and 5 is texture. Those are the areas I look at to help me determine on my particular painting what is working and what isn't working. So I put the painting up in front of me, and I just start right in, and I ask myself in the design, composition, and shape, is my painting interesting? On this one, yes, I think it is. I think I have enough differences in here. I have enough differences in color. I have the design pattern. So on that aspect, I did a check mark on yes. Are the differences enough to keep you interested? Again, I think yes. I think that in this particular painting, there is a lot to look at. There's a lot of lines. There are a lot of shapes. And that's actually what the course is called. Simple technique using lines and shapes. And the different shapes are all different sizes. There are different colors in there. And the underpainting has different colors. The underpainting has marks in it, and we'll talk more about a lot of these aspects later. But when I ask myself, are there enough interest or is there enough in there to keep my interest, I would say yes on this painting. Are there things to allow the eye to flow around the canvas? And I specifically had the design and the shapes going on the lower right and then up there on the left, and then I added some there at the top. Could I add more? Well, on this particular painting, on this one's less is better, and I like just the simplicity of the different shapes, and I like how I made some of the shapes tinier, some bigger. So I like the right amount of shapes that I have in contrast with the underpainting. Are there opposites for interest? And again, yes, the opposites here are there's a smooth background, and then there is a little bit of chaoticness in the pattern. There are some markings in the underpainting. The underpainting is very vast and wide, and then the shapes are small and delicate. The different shapes, they're different. They're different. There's some line shapes. There's some curves. And there's many other different things. There's some scratching as opposed to full areas where it's more solid. So there's the differences in here that help keep it interesting. Value, like I said, value I think is the most important. And the value, as I may have mentioned in the other videos, and I'm going to have one in the future, most of the colors that come right out of the tube are like a medium value. So if you mix your paints with some of the other colors that you're using in your palette, if you put your colors out there and you mix them together, you're going to get them where they complement each other. And so the values, one, the tones are going to look good together. But then what you need to have is the dark and light shapes that give you that contrast, like light against dark. If you have a dark space, have a light spot. If you have a light spot, put a dark spot. So in this area, I have do I have lights and darks in my painting? And I do. If I were, and I'll talk about this in the end, what would I change? If I were to change anything, it may be to darken up one or two of the spaces, but in this particular painting, I liked it the way it was. But you could darken up some of the darker spaces in the painting to give it more of a value contrast. Is my eye drawn to shapes where light versus dark is strongly contrasted? And I feel yes. If you look down there and you see a white space and you see the darkest dark in there, you'll see that they're next to each other. And that causes the eye to be excited about it. Do I have a darkest color and a lightest color? And yes, I have white in there or like a cream, and then I have a dark blue. If I had kept the painting with the blue tones from the underpainting right there in the middle, then it wouldn't be as exciting if when I added the darker shapes have darker blue in them. That gives the eye a darker spot for the eye to look at. So if you're looking at a painting and you just can't figure out and there's something wrong, it might be that you don't have enough darks in your painting or enough lights. So you may want to darken some areas and lighten some areas. And that just takes experience and playing with your paintings over and over again to get that down. It doesn't happen overnight. You may paint a painting and out of sheer excitement and you may be so talented that your first couple paintings you do that, but it is something that takes you a while to get used to, making sure that you're looking for the darkest dark and the lightest light and putting them together. Do I have quiet areas to help my painting with my focus? And yes, because I have both light and dark. I have quiet areas, and the quiet area here are in my underpainting. They're a very muted down, soft look, but I do have scrapes and scratches in it. So the third area is color. Is there light and dark contrast throughout? And the reason why some of these may sound repetitive, because they are, but you're looking at different things. So under color, again, I'm looking to see if I have light and dark. Now, one of the things I do have in here is the complementary color. And there it's a very muted, because the complementary color of blue is like the orange or yellow, and I have both of that. They're not a vibrant, but I wanted this painting to be a very soft painting, so it to go in maybe a nice area above your bathtub, or a very quiet area where you want to very not a loud painting to speak to you, but maybe a study or someplace like that. So did I use a limited palette on this one? Again, I did use specific colors. I did mix the colors, so the palette is somewhat limited. I did not go in and add like additional big pops of orange. I did keep it to a certain palette of color, and that helped draw the eye through the painting. Line. Line is a very important thing in a painting, and I don't think it's as important as value. But in this painting, you'll see that even the contrast between the different colors, there is a very muted line. It's not a stark difference, but it's a muted line. I definitely have a lot of line in the space, in the shapes in the painting, and it's the line that I draw through the painting that creates the shape. So you see curves, you'll see straight lines, even in some of the area like on the left-hand side, kind of in the middle, there's a blue square-like shape that was made basically with paint, but a lot of the shapes are made with the line. So the line comes from the like a pencil utensil used through the painting, and the shapes are formed. And you'll see some larger shapes, some smaller shapes. If I had all the shapes around the same size, even my underpainting, if I had everything very tiny, some of those paintings look great, but in this particular painting, I needed to have some bigger shapes, smaller shapes, some real tiny micro shapes. I needed to have the underpainting a bigger shape, so that the eye can look at the different shapes in the painting. If you have everything the same size, it's not any fun to look at. The other thing is the line that is created in the wet paint and the underpainting where I've scraped through with a utensil. That adds even a softer line to the painting that's a contrast to the more stark line shapes that are creating the actual shapes in the painting. Texture. Now, I always say that there's two different types of texture, either a physical or a visual. And on this painting, the texture is more so visual, and it almost looks like the shapes are sitting on top of the painting. And the reason why that is it's just a visual thing. So the texture in the painting is done with just the more saturated spots of color in the defined shapes that I added on the painting. And also some of the texture is made with the marks in the underpainting and the blending of the paints together in the underpainting. So what would I do what would I change in this particular painting? I personally love the painting the way it is. I would not change a lot. If I were to do anything, it might be to darken up some of those blues with a little darker shade, maybe add some a tad of black in there, maybe add some black in the shape. But then again, you're taking the painting to a little bit different from the look I wanted, and I feel like I captured just enough of the contrast in the colors that gave the painting a very soft spa-like look. So I hope this was helpful, and the only way that this is going to be helpful if I do several paintings, this is just my thoughts on this particular painting, but I hope to do more paintings like this to show you more of the 5 different areas and talk you through it, because another painting, there's going to be totally different things in that painting that I can bring out to you. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please share it. Give me a thumbs up to tell me that you like this. The style of my going through a painting and going through telling you what I feel works and what doesn't work, or what might make the painting better. And I will certainly do more. And in the description, I do have a link to a Facebook group that I share some personal thoughts, and we share paintings in there. So you're more than welcome. You're not obligated, but you're more than welcome to come over there. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope that you've enjoyed this. And if you want me to do more, comment below, give me a thumbs up, let me know. Thank you and take care.